Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm reviewing Imperial Miners from Portal Games. Imperial Miners is a 1 to 5 player Tableau building game across 10 rounds of play, or rounds is a relative number, across 10 cards of play. You're going to basically be playing out 10 cards into your mine over here with the goal of achieving as many of these delightful gems as possible and scoring up at the end of the game for those as well as a few other things. Now in the game what you're going to do, and this is a simultaneous game in the sense that all players can act simultaneously, but you're going to start off with 8 cards. You're going to pick 4 from those 8 from specific decks. You're going to have your level 1, 2, 3, and 4 deck, and again ultimately the goal is placing those cards into your mine. You're going to place level 1 cards, activate them, then move up to your mine and activate your mine. Then you'll place a level 2 card, activate that, activate the level 1 card, activate your mine. So the further you go, the more activations you're effectively getting. So you're trying to build out a mine where you can build out the minimum number as necessary for your earlier levels while trying to work your way up as much as possible so you can eventually build a level 4 card, activating your level 4, your level 3, level 2, level 1, and getting a whole lot of activation out of that one placement. The way the game is going to play out is you're going to start off every single round with an event. There's going to be 10 rounds in play. You're going to look at an event. This is activate a card in your mind and then place a token on it, a rebel token on that card. This is going to be an event that's going to be an end of round event. There are 3 kinds of events. There are right away, end of round, and then, active during the round kind of events. So you know that whatever card we place this round is going to activate again, but it's going to get a rebel in it, which is going to stop it from activating in the future. So you're getting a freebie now, but at the cost of 1 later. I'm going to go ahead and look at my level 1 cards over here, and level 1 cards cost 0 to play. So over here, that's the cost of a card. Let's go ahead and show you the elements of a card. We have the cost, we have the faction, we have how many active chests it matches up to, which we'll talk about later, and then we have the ability. So we're going to place this into our mine. We're going to specifically match it up to one of our little vents over here. That's going to give us a point at the end of the game. Every active mine cart you have matched up is worth a point, although you do have the opportunity to place cards on them. So you can take this and place it on top of a non-matched up one later if you have various abilities that activate that, giving you more ways to get those things. Then we're going to activate the card. This card says gain 1, or if this card has at least 2 completed chests, gain 2. It doesn't have 2 completed chests, so it only has the 1. So we'll gain a single money. We'll move up to our mine, and then we'll go ahead and take a look over here, and we have the option of gaining 2 money, or we could spend 4 or 8 money to advance 2 to 5 spaces on these tracks over here, or we can draw 3 cards, then check our hand limit and discard down to 8 cards as necessary. So those are the 3 options you have on your player board. Those are all the same across the various players in the game. So we're going to go ahead and gain 1, then we'll gain 2 over here. That's going to be our first turn. Then we'll activate this, gaining an additional money because of the tinkering ability, and then place the rebel on it. The next time we activate it, we'll remove the rebel instead of activating it. Think of it as a free loan, but you're going to pay that cost later, unless of course you find abilities that remove rebel, which there are in the game. So that's our turn 1. We are 1/10 of the way through the game. Next round we'll go ahead and activate another one of these over here. We'll take a look. We have to advance 2 spaces and resolve the effect. That's an immediate effect. We can go over here on these tracks. We pick a track to start on, and you're going to advance 2 spaces and resolve the effect. I think we'll go ahead and, we'll start on the artistry chat. So we're going to start over here. We're going to advance 2 spaces. We're going to go ahead and take a gem. We're going to add that to our pool over here. And now we have this effect. As you move up these tracks over here, you gain the effects of the spots you land on, not on the spots you cross. When you get to the very top, you'll resolve a stronger, more powerful effect, and then start at the bottom of one of the other tracks in the game. And then you can always return to artistry later, but you have to move from one track to a different track. Now these are double-sided. These represent the 6 factions in the game, and so you're always going to have 3 random sides in play from the 6 possible sides that there are to mess with, all giving you slightly different ways that they reward you for different things. So we've done that over here. We've resolved our effect. We have our cards in hand. Time to take our second turn. For our second turn, now that we have money, we'll go ahead and play a level 2 card, and we'll put it down over here. We'll line it up halfway with one of these cards, and I'll activate this one. This one has 2 factions on it. We activate that. We don't really activate. We match it with the treasure chest. We can gain 1 and place a gear on this card. So we're going to go ahead and gain 1. We'll place a gear on this card, or you can advance up to 1 space for each gear on this card. Meaning, as you place gears on this card, we can start eventually activating it to advance more spaces. So initially, we're just putting a gear there. But then as the game goes on, you have the ability to be able to take the second action where you get a payoff for the gears you have. It's also worth noting, some of these tracks, I have to find which one it is. One of these tracks will help you put gears onto your various cards. I think it's the reverse of artistry over here. Is it the reverse? No. One of these cards, I think one of these cards let you put gears on cards. I have to go ahead and double check which track it was. But either way, there's going to be lots of cards that let you put gears onto cards, giving you stronger abilities. There are 6 different factions in the game. They all have different aspects to them, the way they operate, what they help you with, advancing on the track, giving you gears, rewarding you for different card types you have, or for the dwarfs, the more dwarfs you have in your mind. You have all these different cards or the ways these cards operate. But that's going to be our turn 2. Then again, we move up over here. This time we remove this instead of activating it because we already have that. And then over here, maybe this time around, we'll go ahead and draw 3 cards because we are running short on cards. So we're going to draw these 3 cards over here, a level 3 and 2 level 2s, and see what we can build. Now the problem is our level 3s over here, we have a 6 cost level 3 that we could have placed, but we don't have 6 money. We also have a 9 cost, but we don't have 9 money. And so over here, we're probably going to be placing another level 2 or another level 1. But let's go ahead and take a look and see what we have. We have over here, each time you complete a cart, gain 2. This is going to be a feature in place. That's going to be an ongoing card. We're going to go ahead and every time we complete a mine cart, we're going to get 2 money. So that's going to try to incentivize us to perhaps go ahead and put something in a way. You know, if we put this down over here, we're completing a mine cart this turn and we'll get that 2 money reward. At this point, you can kind of see where the game is going. You're going to have level 1, 2, and 3 cards. Level 4 cards are always the same. They are actually a step down in a sense. We have level 1 cards are always free, level 2 cards generally cost 2, I believe, and level 3 cards have a range in cost, and level 4 cards over here are always free, they always are zeros, and they always are going to have the exact same chest, and they're going to give you 2 points effectively, 2 gems or 2 points. The main point of a level 4 card is that it's not that it's that strong in of itself, but rather when you have a level 3 card in play, you can go ahead and activate a second time by placing a level 4 card, so you get the whole chain activation again without having to even pay for a level 3 card, which are generally more expensive. So level 4 cards are stronger, not because they're stronger, but because they are already giving you 2 points, plus they are letting you activate all the other cards. And you cannot draw a level 4 card on its own, you have to earn it from some ability. So for example, you can see over here, the next spot is draw a level 4 card. You need an ability or a track to be able to draw a level 4 card. You cannot get them on your own through regular drawing methods. That is basically how you play Imperial Miners. You're going to go ahead and you're going to have a bunch of actions you're taking. You're going to play a card, you're going to activate that card, you're going to move up the track and then activate all the things all the way up to the top of your mine shaft. You are always trying to build a bit of a level system over here, so you could expand further out than this mine shaft, but it's not as beneficial to do so. You're also going to be moving your way slowly down, building level 2 cards, activating level 1s, then level 3, onwards and so forth, paying attention to the various abilities and the various ways they pay off. So for example, alchemy will give you a point for every 2 completed mine carts in your mine rounded down. So if you can heavily focus on building out those mine connections and then trigger alchemy, you can get a giant chunk of points for doing so at the end of that sequence. At the end of the game, you're also going to get a point for every completed minecart in your puzzle over here. So that's going to count these minecarts over here, but also on this alchemy track, we have the ability to gain minecarts over here, and that's going to let you put these on connection points that don't otherwise have a minecart, which will help you both in-game for things that reward you for, having minecarts, as well as end-game, that's going to be an additional point as well. That's basically Imperial Miners. Across 10 rounds of play, go through 10 events, play 10 cards, try to manage your hand and your options to be able to play the most efficient cards for your engine, and try to end with the most points at the end of 10 rounds. Which brings us to the review, starting off with ease of play. Rulebook is fairly easy to go through. Solo mode, by the way, is exactly the same. There's no changes to the solo mode at all. It's just going to be a point scoring aspect, where if you get this many points, you're at that level, all the way up to, I believe the highest point level they have is 65 points, which I have not yet achieved, by the way. I've gotten some of the middle levels, but I have not yet achieved 65. Seems like you'd have to have the right things coming out at the right time to get there, but I would be interested in trying to get that high. But that solo mode is basically just beat your own score effectively, or specific scoring metrics, and then to some extent trying to beat your own score. As far as game time, game takes roughly 30 to 45 minutes. I think the box says 45, if I'm not mistaken. Box says 30 to 60, so I agree with that. It could run a little longer, depends on the people you're playing with, but if you're playing with a few people who already know how to play, it's a fast moving game. You're just playing a card, activating, playing a card, activating it, going through that sequence across those 10 cards. Those first few cards are going to be very fast turns. You're going to have a minute per card. It's going to move quickly because there's not a lot to do. The more you build out your mine, the more you're going to have those cascading benefits, and there's going to be more of a decision space as far as how you're trying to get things done. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like, which is the cascading bonuses. That, to me, is the whole charm of Imperial Miners. The idea that you place something down, and you get something for it, but you get more the more you move out, the more you get to build stuff, the more you're going to reward yourself for various things. This card, Feeding Time, is going to activate at least once, because when you play it, then it's going to activate again from Fake Geode, then it's going to activate again from whatever card I place over here, and it can activate up to 4 more times if I have the right level 4 cards. You can have a card like this activating 5 or 6 times, and that's not even including the fact that you have the ways you can activate other cards in your puzzle based on either events or possibly other cards that will let you ping around in that. And so you have the possibility to getting some really strong cards, or alternatively, Feeding Time, if you find a card that lets you put those gears on other cards, which they are there in that puzzle, that will give you so much room to play around with small manipulations and small ways to just take advantage of the game through the combination of things. You are building out a tableau, you are getting events, you are getting cards, you are planning around your actions, you have those cascading bonuses, you have only 10 cards to play with, only 10 placements to work with, but those 10 placements will have a lot of activations within them, and there's a lot of different decisions as far as how to move forward. Decisions as to which factions you're going to favor this game, decisions as to how those factions interact with the 3 charts you have over here, and how those are going to play out, and how those are going to help you with the puzzle you're trying to play with. There's a lot of satisfying combos in the game, and the variable tracks keep that interesting as you try to figure out what to do. The game plays quickly, it teaches quickly, it works well at different player counts because of that simultaneous play thing. I have played it solo, I don't find it as satisfying to simply beat a score, but past that works equally well at 2 to 5 players because of the simultaneous nature of things. You're just going through your turns and it doesn't really heavily matter. You'll add a few minutes of game time the more people you're playing with it, but it does work well at that 2 to 5 player count. And solo as well, if you like that kind of beat your own score thing, which is not as much my jam. I enjoy it, but I enjoy it like once. I don't need to keep playing it solo. It's just a score beating thing. As far as what I don't like in the game, first of all, the upcoming events feel very strongly random. Now this is particularly a complaint in solo mode, because in solo mode it kind of like, if you have an event, like for example, this card over here, we get to reactivate a card, that is a very different level of strength if it happens now or if it happens later in the game. Similarly, you have other events, a lot of events that will reward you for different things going on in your dungeon, or mine, I should say. Mine, it's definitely a mine. You'll have cards that say, okay, great, you know, discard as many cards as you want, then draw up to 5. That is very, very, very different in the strength of it, depending on if you have a handful of, 8 cards, and that's not going to help you at all. In your last turn, you just drew 3 cards, or versus if you have 1 card left in your hand and you're about to get 4 free cards for nothing. And so events hit people differently. They hit at different strengths. They do so with no degree of predictability. The events are a big degree of randomness in a game that otherwise has a lot of strategy and control. I almost wish there was a change to even just seeing the upcoming event would be a big difference in terms of how you're able to play and anticipate for the game. It might add a degree of, might take a little away from the chaos, a little degree away from the accessibility, but I really think that the events, the swinginess of how badly they affect things in the game is a big deal, and does, again, both in solo play, it hurts you trying to get a high score just because the way events play out will affect your ability to get a score, and in multiplayer play, it affects you depending on, again, that first round where you all get to activate a card, that's at least hitting everyone equally. But later, when you have things that affect people differently depending on what their current board state is a big deal in a game that has an event every single round that could be a big chunk of just your economy or how things are playing out. So events definitely feel way too random for the game, and I would argue, I haven't done it yet, but I would debate house ruling seeing an event around in advance to be able to plan around it. Secondly, I'll say that nearly all the level 1 cards come down to different variations of get 1 or 2 coins. The level 1 cards, which have to be present, you're almost always going to have at least 2, sometimes 3 level 1 cards in your engine, and they generally feel pretty boring. Generally, not exclusively, but I would say that many of them come down to get a coin, or if X, Y, and Z, get 2 coins. There are a few that are a bit different. In fact, one in front of me over here, this one is a little different. Gain a coin or spend 3 coins to place a gear on any card in your mine. Again, Beloved Fish will combo nicely with Feeding Time, so you do have those aspects in play, where sometimes they are a bit different, but a lot of them come down to gain a coin and or gain 2 coins. I wish there was more variability to the level 1 cards. The level 2 and 3s are great, lots of variability across the decks. Level 1, I just wish they were a bit more creative. I understand how it's hard to do so for the starting foundation, but with like 2 or 3 of your 10 plays in the game being that level 1, and the level 1 being the cards that will be activated the most as you move up the chain, I just wish they were a bit more interesting to play with. And then secondly, I'll say that, not secondly, that is secondly, the first thing was the upcoming events aspect, which brings us to things I can see others not liking. Biggest thing I would warn you against is the lack of any player interaction in this game. This is a game that is not about player interaction. It's about doing your own thing more efficiently than other players. It is a race game. You are racing towards points. They are racing towards points. You are doing nothing to do with any of them. There's no drafting cards. There's no interaction between the mines. There's nothing. You're doing your own thing, and if that's not your jam, this is very much multiplayer solitaire. You have to be okay with that, or this is not a game for you. As far as final thoughts on Imperial Miners, I overall enjoy Imperial Miners. It's light, it's quick, it plays at different player counts, it's got great art, it lets you do fun things, let you move up your mine as you build things out and get those cascading bonuses. It's highly variable because of the decks, because of the different styles. I would say that the lack of player interaction, the random events, and just the limited amount you can do with a game that is very much your own puzzle and also like a 30-minute long experience does limit it a bit, but I definitely enjoyed it, definitely have had fun with it. For me, it's a 3.5 out of 5. I like it, I recommend it, I think it's a fun game. I think it works well at various player counts. I think it's a good gateway puzzle as well. There's some small nitpicks as far as where it ends up for me, but a great overall, strong, accessible game that would, again, works at multiple player counts and plays quickly with decent variability. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, in the Hall of the Mountain King. If you're looking for a game that has a degree of cascading bonuses, in the Hall of the Mountain King is a much more intense game as far as more things, not super intense, but more things going on in it, so it's more of an experience than Imperial Miners is, but it also has that cascading bonus card thing, which is very rewarding to get. I really like that, kind of just having a bunch of stuff that gets slowly stronger as you build things out, and both those games have that feature. And then if you're just looking for a degree of collecting gems and trying to do so more efficiently than other players in what is basically a race game with a drop more player interaction, Century Golem Edition definitely has a degree of gem collecting in the game. Definitely has a degree of just trying to build out a more efficient engine across the course of the game, and doing so faster and better than the other players. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.